Well, we are here for, what is this, the third episode now that we have for Chamber Chats, and we have none other than the pastor of Thrive Church, Todd. Give it up for Pastor Todd.
It's good to be here, man. Good to be here.
And we get to continue the tradition of the socks. And today I got the, I don't know if you guys remember Rambo.
Yes.
Yes, Sylvester
Sweet.
Stallone.
Come on.
Yo, Adrian.
We are pickle lovers in my family, so I'm kind of a big deal.
Ah, the pickles.
Yeah.
Which you're gonna have to tell us a little bit about the recipe of what you did with the Hidden Valley.
Yeah, so I can't take credit for that. I think it was a TikTok find from my brother.
Okay.
But just take some dill pickle chips. I like the bigger ones that are made for sandwiches. And just take a packet of Hidden Valley Ranch salad dressing and take that and pour that into the jar of pickles and let it sit for about 24 hours. Shake it up every once in a while. Let the seasonings marinate into the pickles. It's a game changer.
I mean, it sounds so gross when you hear it, but I've also heard like a peanut butter and jelly bacon burger.
Oh, yeah.
When I heard about that, I was like, that sounds disgusting. Who's going to eat that? Then I had it.
It's amazing,
and it's fantastic.
Isn't it, right?
Yeah. So there's weird concoctions like that you can't say, nothing bad about it until you try it, especially if you like pickles.
Yeah. If you like pickles and you like ranch, it's a match made in heaven. That's good stuff.
I'm going to try it.
Yeah.
And we'll see what happens. Well, let's start off with family life, because I know that a lot of the community already knows you, right? They know what you do at Thrive, and you guys are so involved all the time, but they may not know like your backstory. So I think it's a good way to shed some light on your family life and just to kind of start, like, where were you born and how many siblings do you have?
I was born at St. Mary's Hospital, Long Beach, California, but I spent all my life pretty much growing up in Garden Grove.
Okay.
And I've got one older brother. We were both attendees of Pacifica High School. Go
How
Mariners.
far apart?
We're about 4 years apart.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was a challenge, him being an older brother, and we both found our way into a little bit of trouble, but you're in trouble when your first day of high school, 9th grade, Mr. Burns' history class, and he's going through reading all the attendance, and he says, Oldenburg, Todd, and he goes, any relation to James?
Ooh.
And I'm like, yes. And
So
he's
like, it depends.
yeah, he's like, and I'm like, oh man, my whole high school career is ruined right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you were the favorite. Is that safe to say?
I was the good kid.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? Usually the first kid out of the family is always kind of like the trial run, and they get into trouble the most, because all the parents were like, well, we don't know what we're doing. There's no manual. We're just trying to figure this out. So
yeah, you kind of watch your sibling. You go, I don't want that.
yeah, I'm not going to do that. So you're just like, it's all learning lessons from there.
Yeah.
Is there a specific funny childhood memory that you and your brother had kind of growing up, or even just growing up, that you want to shed some light on?
Gosh, I don't know how funny. It wasn't funny for me at the time, but looking at it, we spent a lot of time, my family, my parents divorced when I was 2. And so my mom raised us for almost all my childhood. And we were at the soccer field or the baseball field every Saturday my entire life.
Okay.
Loved playing sports. So we were at the baseball field, West Garden Grove Little League in Garden Grove. And man, we were down there, played my game. We were eating nachos, just hanging out. And I started having some really bad stomach pains. And they just intensified and intensified to the point I literally was in so much pain I collapsed on the ground at the baseball field. My mom, who drove a Pinto at the time, for any of you guys that remember the Pinto days, my mom grabbed her Pinto and she drove out onto the baseball fields, put me in the back of the car, and drove me to the emergency room in Los Alamitos, where the doctor came later on and said, you have a gas bubble.
All of that for a gas bubble?
All of that. I had a gas bubble. And so somehow they went in there and popped the gas bubble, and I was able to go to the restroom. And I was back at the baseball field later that afternoon, and everybody's going, man, what was wrong with you? And I had gas.
I should have just let it out. I had Taco Bell, and it was a bad taste.
I couldn't let it out because the bubble was impeding anything, so
Wow.
yeah.
Did you feel pressure like on the field?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
And you just straight collapsed right in the middle
I
of
did.
it?
I collapsed. I could not move. I couldn't get up. I thought I was dying.
Wow.
And it was a gas bubble.
There's a lot of theories, and people will always say, you shouldn't hold it in. And this is a testament. Look,
It is.
alone or private, you got to let it out, because
Hey.
otherwise you could end up in the hospital or collapse.
Yeah, when you're a kid, you hold it. When you get older, you don't have a choice.
Yeah, it just goes. You're walking in the store randomly, just,
When your
coming
body
out.
starts, you go.
That is fantastic.
Sorry if that's too much for
Oh,
some
no,
people.
no. That's the funny part of the whole
Yeah.
memory right there. That's pretty. Wow, that's a good segue, I guess, to go into how long you've been pastoring for.
You know what? Actually, it's funny you mentioned that. This Sunday, the 21st, will be 23 years to the day, my first Sunday
Wow.
pastoring here
In
in
Banning?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
23
Yeah.
years.
January 21st, 2001 was our first Sunday here in Banning.
Wow.
Yeah. And we moved just a couple of months later because we were living in Moreno Valley at the time.
Okay.
The church had 6 pastors in 10 years. A couple of the buildings that are on site right now didn't exist. There was just the one building, and it was just falling apart. And pastors were just kind of coming and going. There was no income there. You have to work 2 jobs.
Right.
There wasn't a lot of people, and of course the community was a lot different back then too. Because I remember when we got out here, when people got excited, "Hell, IHOP is coming to town."
Oh, yeah. Right.
So that's the way it was back then. But yeah, we've been here 23 years. We love
Wow.
it. This is home.
That's fantastic. Was there a specific event or situation that made you decide to go into ministry growing up?
Man, I had great parents, but I, like a lot of kids, I had challenges growing up and making decisions. And while I didn't kind of wander into a lot of drugs and party scene,
Right.
I found myself in kind of a time of depression and some challenges. And I ended up dropping out of school for a time before I went back to adult school. But I just kind of, I was kind of lost. And at 14, my mom had invited me to go to church. She went to church. That was Mom's thing. But they were asking at this church, and it was a larger church, about 1,000 people and 2 services, and they were advertising summer camp for the teens. My mom was, "Would you please go? Would you please go?" And I'm like, "Mom, I don't want to go to church camp." Right. So anyway, the youth pastor got up there and said, "Hey, we have 1 spot left." And my mom stood up and said, "How much is it?" And he was like, "It's $71. And my mom literally pulled out her wallet and counted $71
Wow.
to the T. And she looked at me and I was like, "All right, Mom,
You had
I'll
no choice
go."
at that time, yeah.
Yeah, and so I hopped in a van. There was a couple vans, and went out to camp with a bunch of teenagers. There was about 300, 400 kids up there.
Wow.
And while I was up there, man, I had this moment where I was in a circle with teenagers, and I found myself praying for people, and I had never done that before. But in that time, I just had this vision, like where I saw myself standing in front of multitudes of people, just sharing the gospel, sharing the love of Jesus with them. And I had no idea. Right. And I actually walked away from the Lord and didn't go to church for several years until I came back at 17, after I had dropped out of high school. And I gave my life to Christ, and I've been serving Him ever since. But the Lord reminded me of that vision. And so I just poured my heart into church and ministry and just people. And a year later, at 18, I accepted my first youth pastor position in that church. And I've been doing it ever since.
Wow. So that's an amazing story to where it all started from, just the seed planted by your mom.
Yes.
And now look to where it's turned into, you like serving thousands of people and helping the community. And what is the overall mission of Thrive Church that you've been able to cultivate through the years?
You know what? Our mission is very, very simple, and it's stated everywhere at our church, and that's helping people take their next step towards God. We know that there's a lot of people who don't believe in God, and we're okay with that. I used to be one of those people. People that believe there is a God but don't believe He's a good God, or they don't trust Him because of different difficulties and tragedies that have happened in your life. I remember a guy one day, I was again, young in ministry, and I was so full of faith and fervor, and I was working at a job at Office Max, and working as a corporate account manager in their print department. And I remember talking to a fellow employee there, and I was like, telling about Jesus and God is good and all this stuff. And he looked at me, he said, "Tell me how God is good when He allowed my unborn son to die." And I had nothing for him.
Right.
And I have learned that in spite of difficulties and challenges, that God is good. But I understand that there are a lot of people, because there's a lot of hurt and evil and pain in this world.
Yeah.
And, people want to trust and believe, but they have a hard time seeing if God is so good, then why?
Right.
And so we recognize everybody's in a different place. And our responsibility in our heart is to love people, serve, and allow them to see Christ in us. And hopefully they'll take that step of trusting and believing.
And speaking of love, I think that for sure we need more of that in our world.
Oh, yeah.
Right? I think that's been,
100%.
whether you're religious, believe in God or not, I
Right.
think it's just so important that showing that love to each other and respect.
Yeah.
And that just goes so long, it goes so far. And that's
Yeah.
something that is lost.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe social media have sped up the process on,
Yeah.
the cyberbullying and just,
Yeah.
I mean, it's just it's something that is a necessity. And I think that Thrive does a great job doing that. And I know you have multiple events throughout the year that you showcase
Yeah.
how you provide love to the community. But is there a favorite one that you guys really are like? I know that's hard because
Yeah.
there's a couple that I can think of that
Yeah.
are pretty pinnacle.
Yeah.
But is there one that really rallies up the community and you feel really passionate about that you do?
I know you're thinking probably like the back to school bash, and that is wonderful, and providing the school supplies and the haircuts and things like that for the
Right.
kids, and that by far brings out the most people. So a lot of people would think, well, that's your favorite, because I think this last August we had over 1,500 men, women, and children come, and 558 backpacks and all that. But my favorite and my family's favorite is our Thanksgiving at the
turkey
community
giveaway.
center.
Yeah.
And the reason for that is that, there's a lot of people that try to help people for Thanksgiving, and that's awesome, and I love that. But years and years ago when we started this, for us it was like, I'd go to my home, and our home, you could tell I'm not starving. In my home, we'd always have so much food.
Right.
We wake up in the morning, the women are cooking, we'll chop stuff, whatever. But we watch football and we're eating charcuterie boards, chips and dip, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And then by the time the turkey comes, we're already full. And there's food left over for days.
Right.
And then you look at your community and you realize there's two things. There's some people that don't have that kind of food. They don't have that kind of blessing.
Right.
And then there's those who don't have family to gather with. And here we are in our homes, and we're friends and family. We're laughing. We're watching football. Got more food, and so we decided, what? No, and we believe that there's nothing. You're never more like Jesus than when you serve people. And so when we did the Thanksgiving for us, it was like people need to know that they're so loved and valued, that they have a place to go on Thanksgiving. Like if we're really grateful, what better way to show Thanksgiving than to serve others rather than to be served.
100%.
So I will tell you, the first year we did it, man, we feed from 11 to 1, and we don't just feed them. They come, we sit them down, we serve them, we decorate the tables, all of that. We want them to feel blessed when they come. We got a live DJ Tony Salazar, and we do all of that. But I tell you, the first year we did it, when I went home to eat my own food and be with my family, I never enjoyed my meal. And I never enjoyed my family as much as I did that day, knowing that I put other people first. And that's what I want our church and our community. When we serve others, there's a joy that comes when you're able to bless others. And if I could just take a moment, there was a couple from Sun Lakes at this last year's. And people would go, come on, they live in Sun Lakes. What do they need food on Thanksgiving? And they said, we don't have any family. We have no one but ourselves.
Yeah.
And thank you for allowing us to have a place where we could be with other people and enjoy Thanksgiving and have a wonderful meal.
So they just came to enjoy it. They weren't like serving, but they came to just be a part of the atmosphere and eat with people, dine.
Yes, they just wanted to be with people.
Wow.
They didn't want to be alone.
Wow, isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
I think a lot of people neglect to remember that the holidays are tough for families.
It is.
They're even if you are wealthy or have a good financial stability. I mean, it could be really difficult for a lot of families. So providing a culture and an atmosphere to where you can dine and feel loved and comforted and at peace, that is such a huge part.
Money and possessions can't love you.
Right? Yeah.
Money and possessions can't put their arms around you. They can't talk to
They
you.
have no feelings.
Yeah, 100%. Some of the richest people in the world are some of the saddest, loneliest people in the world.
That's true.
And you know what? You don't have to have a big house and a fancy cars and a lot of money. I mean, we'd all like to have more than what we have. But the truth of the matter is, you look at what you have, and I look at myself and I go, I have a beautiful wife and 2 beautiful daughters. I have people that love me and care about me. I have roof over my head, food and clothes. I mean, I have pickle socks. I'm one of the richest people in the world.
You're a big deal.
I'm a big deal. Absolutely.
Is there a specific and special dish that you look forward to on Thanksgiving?
Oh, I'm a stuffing guy.
Stuffing?
Yeah.
Now, who makes it, or do you make it? Does your wife make it? Where do you get it from?
You know what? Every year it's a little bit. My sister-in-law made it this last year, but I love stuffing. I love a good stovetop stuffing. I know I'm simple,
Yeah.
but I like it just a little bit burnt, so it's crispy on the
Yes,
top.
I
And
feel ya.
you know, I mean, I love potatoes and all that kind of stuff, but now I know I'm gonna make some people mad. But I love turkey on Thanksgiving, but I'm only eating turkey one time. I'm not going back for thirds of turkey the next day having turkey. No.
Why is that?
I'm just one of those guys that, you know what, I look forward to it and I eat it, and then once I've had it, I don't want turkey again.
Do you feel like it erases the validity or the importance of it if you have it like all the time? Or the
I don't
thirds
know.
or-
I'm like, I don't want turkey the next day. Like I've moved on.
You don't do leftovers with
No.
like putting it in a sandwich?
No,
or...
absolutely not. No.
Oh, man.
You know, as a kid I did that, but as an adult, you know, I don't know why, but I'm like, I move on. Like even Christmas. When Christmas Day is over, the very next morning, the day after Christmas, all the decorations have to come down. Everything goes
next
away.
Day, wow.
Oh yeah, Christmas is over. I'm moving on. Let's
my
go.
wife milks it. She wants to have the Christmas tree all year round, and
no.
she has a theory that she wants to put, let's say for Easter, decorated Easter, for Valentine's Day, decorated tree Valentine's, so that it's just up all year. So
Day
yeah.
after Thanksgiving, fall decorations come down. Christmas goes up. Day after Christmas, Christmas goes down.
Just a hard
and we're moving forward.
man.
Yeah. Sorry.
Well, I'm gonna give you one thing that you may want to try for next year for stuffing, is so Monica makes, because we love stuffing too, and my grandma has this really delicious recipe for it, and we always usually have a little bit left over for the next day because we have a big family, so it's hard to gauge how much to make exactly. So the next day, what she does is, have you ever had like a crab cake?
I'm not a big crab.
You're not a crab
seafood
cake? Okay, but do you know like the texture or how they're kind of smashed, but they're in like little
Yes,
cakes, right?
yes.
So she does that with the stuffing to where it has the crispy, and you fry it, and it's like a little cake. And oh my God.
You know, you're talking to a guy
Delicious.
who's not eating too much right now. You know,
Oh, that's right. You're going through your, is it the fasting? that you're going through?
yeah.
So let me go. The crispy texture of the.
Yeah, and I haven't had coffee now. This is day 13, so I haven't had coffee in 13 days. So I could be a little cranky with you right now.
It could be. So I better stop there and go to the next question. Well, I know you're a Pittsburgh Steelers fan.
I am.
Right? Because I know you
am.
said you're huge in athletic sports. Why? How did you come to choose them as your team?
You know, so growing up in Garden Grove on Bailey Street, there was a kid. We lived in an apartment complex, and the way the apartments were, there was a courtyard. So you had 4 apartments on one side, 4 apartments on the other, and in the middle of it was a little courtyard. And right across from me was this guy named Tony, and I think I was like, I don't know, 9, 10, something like that. We were like best friends, play wiffle ball,
Nice.
all that kind of stuff. And one night I spent the night with him at his grandma's house. And when we woke up the next morning, his grandma made us breakfast. And we were watching the Steelers-Chargers playoff game. And his family, I believe, was from Pittsburgh.
Okay.
And so we watched the Steelers. And, of course, he was my best friend. So I really wasn't much into football until that day. I'm watching, I got into it. And when we got home later that day, he went over to his apartment and he came back and he brought me a Pittsburgh Steelers trash can and he gave it to me for my room.
Nice.
And I've been a Steeler fan ever since.
That's cool. I love that.
Because people go, are you from Pittsburgh? And all that kind of stuff.
know,
I'm
yeah.
like, no, it's on my bucket list to go to Pittsburgh. And
Right.
it really is. The city looks absolutely beautiful. My assistant pastor, Charles Laporte, pastored in the Pittsburgh area for
Nice.
a few years. And so I'm like, we're talking about going back there because I would just love to go. But I've been a Steeler fan ever since. They just lost last week to the Buffalo Bills. And,
Yeah.
but, I'm a diehard black and gold Like, let's go.
Yeah, I love that there's emotion attached to it because a lot of fans usually will bandwagon when they're winning and then be like, "Oh, I like how they're playing this year, so I'm gonna be a fan." You know, that's the majority.
Whoever
of
wins
stories,
the Super Bowl,
you know?
all of a sudden you see
There's
the hats and the
grip
jerseys.
of them, yeah.
You know, like nobody was wearing their Niner gear for a couple years, and now it's like bang bang Niner gang. I always appreciate the guys that are fans all the time.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what? We're horrible. Like, I got some friends that are Detroit Lion fans, and I'm so happy for them because the Lions are playing well. Jared Goff beat the Rams, the team that traded him away.
Right.
It's a great story, so I love that. I love the underdog.
What do you love about the game of football?
Man, honestly, like all sports, but, football, soccer, baseball, but football is like the ultimate team sport. The quarterback gets all the love and the praise, right? Gets the big contracts, gets the commercials. But what about those offensive linemen, those big boys that get bloodied, their nose broken, all that kind of stuff? They block for that guy.
Yeah.
And the wide receivers got to run those routes and take hits to catch that ball. And then the defense, and then you got special teams and coaches and athletic trainers that heal these guys up. Because when they come off the field, man, those guys are hurting. Football's a physical game.
Yeah.
And so those guys come off and they got medical people that are taping them up and healing them up and getting them ready for the next week's game. And there's so many people involved in the process. That's why when they win a Super Bowl, like there's people you'd never heard of and you'd never know of. They all get Super Bowl rings because they all played a part.
Right.
And I love that. As a pastor, I'm the face of the ministry. But man, it is all of the people that people don't know by watching this would never know how many people make Thrive Church what it is. Because it's not the building, it's not the pastor, it's the people.
Yeah.
It's teamwork.
That's for sure. I love that. So we're going to play a game.
Okay.
Okay?
All right.
Now, there's 2 different games, and there's 2 different buckets that you get to choose from. Matter of fact, I think we should rock, paper, scissors to see who wins to choose. Because we can do, one is...
You pick.
Okay, fine. So, we'll do let's do Would You Rather, which I think is which one is that? Well, I guess whatever this one is.
All right.
All right, ready?
Yeah. All right, so you're gonna
Most
ask
of these questions are about like solving homelessness and how
Okay,
you
sure.
can change the world.
Yeah.
And so they're
we have
easy
we have a great
questions.
mayor who can take care of that.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, this isn't a Would You Rather. This is, it's what's your favorite childhood memory? We got to do another one. Okay, this is a good one.
All right.
Okay, how did you meet your spouse or significant other?
I was youth pastoring at the church that I told you about. I became the youth pastor there. And I took a bunch of kids to a camp up in Fraser Park that's out near the Grapevine. In fact, right in the middle of the Grapevine is where you go up Fraser Park. So I was there with all of my kids for summer camp. And one of the guys in my cabin, he was my assistant camp counselor, told me, he goes, man, this is church camp. He goes, man, there's this gorgeous girl. He goes, I'm going to get her number. And he introduced me to her. And a couple days later at the camp, she came up to me and she said, hey, your friend is really annoying. And she said, and we just started talking. And we hit it off. And by the end of camp, I would have never approached her because she was way out of my league.
Right.
She was absolutely beautiful. I would have never. So, but she came up and gave me her number at the end of camp. And
Wow.
a week later, I called her up, and our first date was actually, I went to her church, and then we went out to eat, and I went back to her house and talked with her mom and her dad until about 2 o'clock in the morning, all 3 of us. And then she walked me out to my car, and I took her by the hand, and I prayed with her. I got in the car on my way home. I said, I'm marrying her.
Wow.
I actually never, fun fact, I never dated a girl more than 2 weeks. I know this will sound weird, but I'd go out with a girl and I'd go home and I'd go,
Didn't feel right.
I can't see myself marrying her.
Yeah.
I know people are going, yeah, you're 17, 18 years old. I'm like, why am I going to waste my time?
Yeah, right.
Why would I waste their time? But on the way home, I was like, I'm marrying her.
Wow, shout out to the annoying friend.
Yeah.
He's the true unsung hero.
He is still my friend today, and he is happily married.
So
Yeah.
it was a win-win.
It was a win-win.
So now there's a new strategy to be a wingman. If your buddy, just go be annoying, and then you could come be the hero. You're welcome.
Yes.
You're welcome.
That is great,
Right.
great dating
New
advice.
strategy. right, let's do one of the would you rathers.
Oh, that's funny.
Okay. All right, let's see. Okay. Would you rather be a kid your whole life or an adult your whole life? I feel like I know what you would say for this one.
Oh my goodness. I don't even know that I could pick one of those. I know I'm not answering the question, but
What are you, a politician?
there's a lot of people. I could be, I guess. I just want to help people. So the pastor, politician, help people. But I think that I've often said, people go, if you could go back, would you? And people are like, no, I would never. I'm like, if I could go back knowing what I know now, I would never want to forfeit my wife, my kids, and I love my life.
Right.
Full of ups and downs, but experiences are what make you who you are.
Right.
But if I could go back knowing what I know now, man, I would do high school all over again. I would be unapologetic. I would be involved in everything. You don't like me, I don't care.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm just going to be me because, there are so many people in school that never gave me the time of day. And a lot of these people, they're all my friends on Facebook now. And many of them I find are watching some of my things that I'm doing for the church online and whatever, and they'll reach out to me and ask me for prayer and different things like that. I haven't even seen them in 35 years or longer. But it's just like, childhood is great, and I loved it, and I wish I would have done things a little bit different. But life is not about looking back and living in the past. It's embracing what's in front of you and growing and developing. And so being a kid was wonderful, but I love this part of my life too. I just wish I could slow some things down because my kids are growing up way too fast.
It happens fast.
I just miss going to the soccer field. I just had this conversation yesterday. I miss going to the soccer field and watching my kids play.
Well, for those that are parents that are having tough times with their kids now, just remember that it goes by super fast, and there's moments that you'll probably miss. So, well, it's safe to say you didn't answer that question. So,
did I pull a Kamala?
I mean, it was a good one. It was a great answer.
I didn't answer. No, I'm sorry. What's the lady, the press secretary lady that never answers the question?
Oh yeah, I don't know. There's been many throughout the years.
Yes, they all are good at dodging, bobbing, and weaving.
Right. So the last question that I really would like to leave on this note for you is, what would you say is the most important thing to prioritize in someone's life to achieve peace and happiness?
That's a great question. And, with respect to the vast audience of people that may watch this, obviously being a man of great faith, and I say great faith, not that my faith is great, but faith is great to me.
Right.
And my belief in God, I think that when you come to the realization that you were created by a very loving, generous, and kind God who has a plan and purpose for your life, and surrendering to his purpose for your life does not mean the absence of adversity and challenges. Life, the Bible says, the rain falls on the just and the unjust. So we are all have to deal with death. We all have to deal with evil. We all have to deal with hurt and selfishness and pride. So, placing my faith in Christ and knowing that God has great things for my life, there's a great peace even in the midst of adversity, that I know that all things are working together for good because I love God and I'm called according to his purpose. However, for those people that are watching, part of my faith, I believe the center of the gospel is forgiveness. God so loved the world that he gave his only son. And forgiveness is at the heart of that. And whether you're a believer or an unbeliever, whether you go to church or you don't, walking through life harboring bitterness and anger and resentment towards people is only killing yourself. Oftentimes the people that you harbor anger and bitterness towards, no matter what they've done for you or done to you, it only hurts you. That most of them are generally ignorant of the feelings that you have. And forgiveness is not condoning what people do. Forgiveness is releasing yourself to live your life and ridding them of any more influence that they would have in your life to affect the direction that you're going. So I would tell people, walk in forgiveness. The people that have hurt you, wounded you, disillusioned you, what have you, man, let those people go. Let the past go. There's a reason why the windshield is so big and the rear view mirror is so small.
Right. Yeah.
We are not supposed to spend that much time looking behind us. We learn from that, but our future's in front of us, and we can spend way too much time looking back that we miss our future.
Yeah, I love that.
So walk in forgiveness.
Well, you answered that one. Good. That was a fantastic.
It's not easy.
Oh yeah, that's
It's easy to
journey.
say.
That's
It's
a
not always
lifetime
easy
of
to
trying.
do. But you have to walk that out. I often say forgiveness is a choice, healing is a process.
Oh yeah, that's beautiful. Wow, that's the perfect way to end that one. Thank you, Pastor Todd, for
Absolutely.
being here. Man, I
Appreciate
appreciate
you, brother.
you. Give it
Absolutely.
up for Pastor Todd and Thrive Church for all that they do.
Thank you.
You guys are amazing. And
Appreciate
we will
it.
see you on the next Chamber Chats episode. Thank you guys for tuning in. Love it. And you're a
man.
big deal, but you're humble, you know?
Hey, man, honored and privileged, brother,
Thank
to be
you,
here.
man. I appreciate you, bro.